Hi, everybody. Welcome back. This is Adam Rossen again from the Rossen Law Firm. And over the last 8 weeks or so, myself and my partner Manny have been interviewing a bunch of local business owners to talk about how the coronavirus, COVID-19, has affected them and what they're doing to help the community, what they're doing for their businesses, what they're doing, just in general, and how this has affected them and how they're coming through it. So on today's show, we have Marc Brown from Marc Brown, PA. He is not only a lawyer who specializes in landlord, tenant, evictions, and foreclosures, but he is also my suite mate over in the office. So hello, Marc. How you doing today?
Good. How you doing?
Good. Thanks for having you here. So, there's a lot of people that have been listening to the show, watching it, and like all of us, we have a million questions that the media is really not answering for us. They're talking about these big level things, testing and just all these kind of hot topics for more of a national media scene. And a lot of the people that we talk to just have, real life questions. How is this going to affect me? Am I going to lose my house? Am I going to be evicted from my rental? Or on the flip side, had property owners who maybe are entrepreneurs or investors who say, well, my tenants are not paying, so what are my rights? What can I do? So Marc, first of all, let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so as far as tenants, right now we get a lot of calls from tenants freaking out. They're not able to pay their rent. They don't know what to do. But then they hear in the news, you don't have to pay your rent. You're not going to get evicted. That's kind of true, kind of not true. We specialize in, landlords and tenants, so we see it on both sides. As far as Broward County, for example, right now you can't get evicted, but that doesn't stop any landlords from filing the evictions. So it's best to work something out with your landlords because they can file it, they can go through the process, and as soon as either the governor or the chief judge in Broward changes the orders, all of a sudden the floodgates are going to open up and evictions are going to start flowing again.
Well, Marc, I know you've been handling these cases for quite some time. And so let's back up a little bit, right? Before I was a lawyer, when I was in college, and I know a lot of the landlords that rent out to college students, they think they can bully people and just, make up the law and tell people what they can do. But I always thought that, if you don't pay your rent on the first, they can just evict you and kick you out. So is that really how the process works, or is it more involved than that?
It's much more involved. In Florida, it's very by the book. You have to follow the statute specifically from the start of eviction through the end to even making a claim on the security deposit. The landlord first has to give you a 3-day notice if you don't pay your rent. Say, on the lease, it says you're late after 5 days. On that 5th day, they can file a notice with you where they have to post it on the house or personally serve you, saying you have 3 days to pay your rent, or then they can evict. And at that point, they can file the eviction. They can't just go.
So and by eviction means they're not coming, they're not changing the locks, they're not forcibly removing you. You mean they can actually then file the lawsuit to kick you out, to evict?
Correct. They can't just go ahead and pack your stuff up. That's not allowed. I mean,
okay.
Called all the time freaking out. Oh, my landlord said they're going to pack them, put us some boxes and we're out of here. They can't do that.
Okay.
File the eviction, and then you have to go through the whole process with the courts.
So Florida law is pretty good for the tenant then, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it's very favorable to make sure it's fair.
Okay.
At that point, after those 3 days, then they can file the eviction, and then they still have to serve you with the eviction papers. And then at that point, you have another 5 days to answer. So you have a good 7-8 days once you miss your rent before things start to get serious if they are immediately filing these evictions, which are trying to work things out right now because they want to get paid also, even if it means over a few months or continuing the lease a little longer, extending it to make sure you get the rent in the end.
So are the courts in Broward still allowing landlords or their lawyers to file evictions?
So you can file an eviction, but you can't get a default. So if you say you're a landlord, you file an eviction, after those 5 days, the tenant doesn't pay the rent, the tenant doesn't file a response to the eviction complaint. Normally you can just file a default with the clerk's office and they automatically execute it online, and then you can get your eviction judgment. At this point, you have to wait now. There's nothing you can try to get the judge to enter that order, but right now, judges aren't entering the default orders either. So you have a lot more time than normal to try to work something out. which is advantageous to the tenants because that have the advantage to go to your landlord and say, look, you're not going to kick me out anyways. You have to go through this process. Everything's on hold. Let's work something out.
Gotcha. Okay, so that makes total sense. And you've seen this. Have you seen firsthand people calling you on both the landlord and the tenant side since all of this has been going on?
Yeah, I've had landlords call me too who are, this is their income or this is the only money they have. They have to pay their mortgage. They have to, pay the bills on the property, investment properties, and they're freaking out too. And
right, because they have mortgages, right? They have taxes.
Yeah, and it's not really favorable to the landlords right now. It's basically don't evict people, but the state isn't necessarily giving the landlords anything not to evict these people.
Okay, and how long has this, because I've heard that the governor has put a stay on these, so how long is that in effect until?
Right now, it's until May 15th, but I'm guessing they're probably going to extend it a little longer. I mean, the Broward order specifically says until court operations are normal again, there's no eviction defaults being entered. So that is more indefinite than even the state.
Okay, and so these are for residential evictions. Has there been anything on commercial evictions that you're aware of?
As far as commercial evictions, the same thing really applies as far as the defaults. I've had a few evictions that I've actually filed in the last couple of days for a commercial landlord client of mine. And we haven't got to the point yet where we've even been able to file the default because it hasn't been 5 days. So we don't know what's going to happen with commercial. It's not as clear. It just says evictions, but then it says where people's place of living and stuff like that. So it's really one of those things where no one really knows until it happens.
Right. So we're kind of back in the Wild West of the way it was before, right? When the housing market and the economy crashed in 2008.
Yeah. So I have these landlords, commercial landlords, who their bills are even more than residential, and they're even more advantageous to them to go ahead and work something out because they're not gonna get this money from these other businesses anyways. They're if they don't work something out, like businesses are closed, there's nothing these people can do, unfortunately. So it's one of those things where you're damned if you do, damned if you don't, but you're better off working something out.
Right, like most things, I think in law, it's better off to come to an agreement if you can, and
especially right now, it's such a unique situation where no one predicted this. Everybody was riding high, everybody was doing good, businesses were fine. I haven't seen this many, potential evictions since I've been, practicing, really. Right.
And you were around back when everything went bad the first time, right?
Yeah, I started, practicing in 2006, same as you, but I started doing foreclosures in 2007 for all the, big lenders in Florida. I was, there from the boom to the end of it. I stopped, representing only banks and foreclosures about 4 or 5 years ago, but it was crazy then. I mean, you would have 3,000 cases on your own docket. It was just insane.
Wow. Yeah, it's and who knows, right? If things are going to go back to that with the rocket dockets and turning a hallway in the courthouse into a courtroom, like the
I know. I've seen it all. I mean, I traveled throughout the state doing it. It was unbelievable what was going on then. Hopefully, it won't happen now.
Okay, so and as far as landlord-tenant issues go, rent, stuff like that, what other advice do you have, for people out there that may be struggling?
The second you think you can't pay, if you're a tenant, reach out to your landlord. Like I said, most landlords are willing to work things out, even if you have to work on a payment plan where the next 3 months you pay a little extra and you get back to normal. I mean, communication is key. I mean, you have to communicate right now. You can't just not pay and wait for them to act in the court and then say, I saw on the news that you can't evict, so I'm not paying.
Right. Okay. Now you also handle foreclosures, right?
Yeah, I represent mostly foreclosure defense, but I represent some smaller, private lenders as well.
Okay. And so what's the difference for everybody out there, the difference between maybe a landlord-tenant issue and an actual foreclosure defense?
With foreclosures, it's when you have a mortgage where the process is similar, where they're going to go, technically the bank's trying to evict you from the house, but it's much more involved process, much longer process involved. It's a full court case, as opposed to evictions are on the summary procedure where it's, you have 5 days to respond, as opposed to, not going too much detail, but in foreclosures, you have 20 days to respond, and there's a much longer process involved.
And I know there's been a lot of issues with the banks, right? The big banks, small banks. We've seen even commercials on TV saying that they're here to help. We're all in this together. So what have you specifically seen from these banks regarding any financial help? And what does that mean for people that are watching this, just like you and me?
I mean, they say they're here to help, but trying to get them on the phone is near impossible to even try to get help. I do a lot of residential closings as well, so I have clients who purchase houses. A couple months later now, we can't get in touch with our landlord. We can't get in touch with our mortgage company. We don't know what to do. We see in the news that we're allowed to defer our payments or do something, but I can't talk to anybody. So it's really hard to actually get a response right now from anybody.
Okay. And so there's been talk about forbearance or deferment on the payments. So what's the difference between forbearance and deferment? These are fancy legal terms, right? What do these even mean?
I mean, a forbearance is basically, say you finally get in touch with your lender, they give you a 3-month forbearance. At the end of those 3 months, everything you didn't pay in those 3 months is due at one time. If you're lucky, they'll work it out over a repayment plan after that, or over 3 months, 6 months, where you pay your mortgage payment and then additional amounts. But it really doesn't help you that much unless you're gonna come into a lot of money in 3 months. If you're not paying now, there's a reason. So you really want to try to get into some kind of deferment instead, where either right away they agree that you have 6 months after these 3 months, or 6 months, however long you don't pay, you can pay that over time, which is more feasible than paying it all lump sum. Or a lot of the lenders are supposed to be offering to put it at the back end of your mortgage. Say you have 25 years left in your mortgage, that payment for those 3 months, 6 months should go to the end of the mortgage and be due as a lump sum at the end in that time.
Okay, so deferment a lot better than a forbearance.
Yeah, deferment is definitely better.
Okay, and right, because if you do a 3-month forbearance, we don't know where the economy is going to be in 3 months. We might be even worse, right? I mean, I think there's 30 million unemployed now, and we'll find out every week the numbers are going up and up.
And all these restaurants are closing. Now you see like J. Crew, for example, is filing bankruptcy today. All these stores are going to start doing it too. I mean, people are going to lose their jobs more and more.
Right. 2J's just last week.
Yeah.
Right. We heard about 2J's. So I know you're disappointed. No more tuna and the chicken salad.
But I do handle bankruptcies too. So if
okay. So then let's talk a little bit about the bankruptcies then. So I mean, I'm a lawyer, and people think just because I'm a lawyer means I know everything about every area of law. I don't know the difference between Chapter 7, 11, 13, all these bingo numbers. So what's the quick version for someone out there thinking, okay, this might be the right thing for me if I can't pay my credit card bills, all my other bills? If
you can't pay, but you have a certain amount of income, it always varies. It's a whole formula involved. A Chapter 7 would basically wipe away those debts. Everything will get discharged. It's on your credit for, I believe, 8 years, but everything's gone. You don't have to pay that anymore. And in Florida, your house is your homestead, so you still get your house. You get to, certain things to be able to keep, as opposed to Chapter 13.
Isn't that why OJ moved down here?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Okay, he was still looking for the real killer.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
He's good at the gloves. He knows all about wearing the gloves. I talk to clients about Chapter 13, which is a repayment plan where you want to pay the debt, so you don't it's not as bad in your credit, and also you keep everything, your mortgage, anything like that. You repay the debts over like a 5-year plan, and then it's much better in the long run because you're not. With Chapter 7, you wipe away everything, but you're basically starting from scratch again. Okay, so there's two options, and is it a real easy decision, or is it something that people should really talk to a trained professional such as yourself to really figure out? Yeah, every situation is definitely different. I offer free consultations. People want to talk about it, and you go over their finances and look and see what the best thing to do is. If you hear bankruptcy, for example, my wife said yesterday, "Oh, J. Crew's filing for bankruptcy; they're going to close." And then the news today, they're filing a Chapter 11, which is for a corporate repayment plan, and basically they're going to be fine. I mean, it's already news that they already reworked out a lot of their debt, and they're going to be okay. So you hear bankruptcy, you think the worst, but it's not always as bad as it sounds.
Okay. So a company like J. Crew is not just going to disappear forever. They're just reconsolidating, reorganizing their debt.
Yeah, I mean, some companies are going to probably close.
Right.
Like something like that, they're going to be okay.
Good. We want to make sure your wife's still able to shop at J. Crew.
Yeah, you got to get those clothes.
Right, of course. Okay. All right, good. So there's definitely a lot of complicated financial issues going on with people, due to the coronavirus and, of course, the sudden stopping of our economy. And Marc, it seems like you have it handled from really 3 different ways, which is fantastic. For renters and landlords, for people who own homes but are having trouble paying, and then also if you need it to declare bankruptcy. Now, how does bankruptcy and a foreclosure work? Can those work hand in hand?
Yeah. Well, first of all, once you file for bankruptcy, if you have active foreclosure, it gets put on hold. Everything gets put on hold the second you file bankruptcy. If you file Chapter 7, the bank can move to get relief from that bankruptcy and still go forward to foreclosure. But they also are required, if it's your homestead, to go to mediation, and a lot of times they work out a modification with you there, so you can work something out. In foreclosure, it's even more of an opportunity to file bankruptcy. There's another route to help get the lender to work something out with you.
So those are definitely intertwined for some clients.
A lot of people use bankruptcy as a foreclosure defense to try to help them get things resolved.
Gotcha. Okay. Wow, complicated stuff, but it seems you're doing a real good job of uncomplicating it. So perfect, Marc. So for anybody who's listening to this and has any issues, on any of these areas of law that you specialize in, what's the best way to get in contact with you?
You can call my office, which is 954-566-5678. And a lot of we're Adam's offices. I'm in the same suite as him, so we're right there together.
Right.
We're not open now except for virtual appointments and by telephone, but you can call me, or you can always email me as well. It's Marc, MARC, at marcbrownpa.com, and I try to get back to people pretty immediately, especially emails.
Right, and so that's pretty convenient. I know we've gone to virtual consultations for all of our cases, phone, Zoom, like we're doing now. And have your people had any issues or any complaints about talking to you either on the phone or through Zoom?
No, it's in this day and age, people do everything online anyways. I mean, there's so many clients I've never actually met in person, even before this, where we do everything through the phone, through email, everything electronic now. You can sign everything electronically, all the contracts, everything we do. So it's really, makes it more efficient.
Right. Yeah. I think it's, for us, it's been very good. We haven't had a single complaint. People like it. It's actually pretty easy, for us. So that,
I think it's going to change a lot of things, in general in the world, the workforce. I mean, a lot more people virtually.
And even court hearings. We've had a bunch of court hearings over Zoom, which is always fun. The judges like the little background and stuff, so that way they never know where I am, if I'm actually in the office or not. Awesome. Perfect. So anybody listening to this, do you have any questions at all? Now, Marc, do you offer free consultations?
Yeah, always free consultations. I'm here to answer any questions and see if there's something that you really need to hire a lawyer for. A lot of the things you can do, and I'm here to help you. And then later on, if it doesn't work, then I'm here to go forward with. Perfect.
So Marc, and what's your phone number again?
It's 954-566-5678.
Easy enough. Okay, so well, thanks a lot for being here. Love talking to you and kind of getting a bunch more information about what you do, and we're all in this together. So that's why we've been doing this, really just trying to help our community, help all the people that we know, get experts in each area, whether it's law or otherwise, and just talk about their businesses and how this has affected them and what they're going to do in the future. So wonderful. Great talking to you again, Marc. And hopefully I'll see you in the office soon and we'll get back to normal. Right?
All right. Thank you.
All right. Take care.